This is Boadu TV. Truth and integrity.
Boadu TV, yama mo nyina akwa bamfamra so. Sam George akọ Parliament. Public Account Committee tinasema Sam George ko na Minister of Communication, Digitalization, Technology. Yes. Okopie Moha, former Deputy Finance Minister, Honorable Abena Osei Asare. One nimuni eno one no wohanya seketwa. Ombisa Sam George question. Sam George could go one way. Na tamana na do horn na ye friend saying ofrata woho na Abena se wa woho. Abena Osei woho na omuye nyama basa Abena Osei. Question ye bisawo. Go straight to the point. Na nyafe na babu wo bodin ya ba be ye debi. Sam George say yes sir. Yes madam. Oh but obo Sam George abaso. Say wa comporting na dey wa comport no but ye hwe the course anu ye beba ba questions are ye to edema Sam George
2020 $2 million not paid. 2021 $1 million not paid. 2022 $1 million not paid. 2023 same way. 2024 same way. We recommend that the chief director should recover the total amount of $6 million with interest at the prevailing Bank of Ghana rate from Smart Infraco, failing which remedies as stipulated in the contract should be activated. Minister, what says you?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, this contract actually started in 2015 when I served on the board of the National IT Agency. In fact, Madam Rita Shraha, who is today Managing Director, was also on the board at the time when that board approved for the then MD to engage Libara. The contract was not consummated before we left office in 2016, and the Akufo-Addo government took the decision to sign with Libara in 2018. The terms of the contract are as you have read out in the Auditor General's report. However, we have been appraised of addendums to the original contract. Addendums which have sought to alter the letter and spirit of the original contract. The original contract was for Libara Ghana, a private company, to commercialize the excess capacity of NITA, the National IT Agency. There had been about $300 million worth of investment by the John Mahama I administration. And so we asked that the infrastructure of NITA should be commercialized and there should be a profit sharing between the private entity and NITA. However, we were very clear that it should be on new business. So NITA already had a number of government agencies as its client. That business was supposed to be exempt from this commercialization because this new entity was not going to be bringing in this new business. But for example, on the Eastern Corridor Fiber, you had 48 core, and at that time we were using less than 6 core. And so to commercialize the rest of the infrastructure, we said we needed a private vehicle to do this. There were 120 LTE base stations which we thought could be commercialized. Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, it's become evident to us that there have been 2 addendums that have changed the contract, handed over fully the entire government infrastructure to this private entity. In fact, an SPV was set up called Smart Infraco that took over all rights of Libara Ghana. Now, I have referred this to the Attorney General for his advice, and so, but the issues we have raised for the Attorney General to advise us on is that the terms of the original contract stated that Libara could not assign more than 20% of their rights to a third party. Now, the current situation is an SPV has been set up called Smart Infraco that has taken over 100% of Libara's rights. The other issue that arises is the fact that when we took over the ministry and there was the need to change passwords for some government agencies, it became clear to me, and unfortunately my Director General for NITA is not here, he's a bit under the weather. NITA had no access to the National Data Center.
Minister, you mentioned that the terms had changed in one breath, and in another breath you also said that they had also amended the main contract. So isn't the change of terms, wasn't it as a result of the amendment of the original contract?
Exactly so, Madam Chair. But again, I leave this for the advice of the Attorney General and the lawyers, that you cannot alter the terms of a parent contract in such a manner that vitiates the intent of the original contract. Because the original contract said you could not assign more than 20%. Now you have a situation where you've done an addendum that has taken over the entire rights and handed them over. So again, that's a question for the lawyers to determine if that is legally right and permissible by our laws. But the change in the terms are on the basis of that addendum. Now the question is, against the spirit and letter of the original contract, is that admissible? The fact that it was signed, is it legally tenable, and is that's a matter for the Attorney General that we've written to. But like the point I was making was, when we took over office and when I was appointed in February 2025, we realized that NITA, the National IT Agency, had absolutely no access to the National Data Center, and for them to be able to effect the changes, they needed to make a request to the private entity, Smart Infraco. That I called the meeting immediately and requested for a meeting, and now NITA has root access to the National Data Center and has fiscal access as well to the data center. On the issue of the 6 million, that was part of the original contract. Now my understanding from the briefings we've received is that Smart Infraco says they spent money doing rectification of the infrastructure that they acquired. And for that reason, they are offsetting it against what was supposed to be deliverables to NITA. My position as minister has been clear. You have an obligation under the contract, meet those obligations. Pay the $6 million to NITA. Then submit your claims for any rectifications that you did. Let that be authenticated and verified. And then let's see the terms of the contract. Did the terms of the agreement say that you were supposed to take the infrastructure in situ the way it was? Or were you supposed to take it and rectify it at the expense of the state? Those are questions that need to be settled. So this 6 million is owed the state, and we've written to the Attorney General to advise us on the steps to reclaim this $6 million. But Mr. Chair, the last point I will make is that I believe that this matter is of grave national importance, because the infrastructure we talk about is our national data center. That's where all our critical assets sit. As we speak, the country is aware of what's going on with the Ministry of Health and the LIMS contract. Mr. Chair, the Ministry of Health has reached out to us to provide some support for the stopgap measure they want to do. Now, we are being told that that contract, which is not being, or this service that we are going to render from the National Data Center to the Ministry of Health, must be signed with this private entity and payments made to the private entity. And so I have written officially to the Director General of NITA, instructing him to engage the Ministry of Health directly and not through the private entity, because the asset is the property of the Ghanaian people, paid for in full by the Ghanaian people with our taxes, and this is another government agency we are offering services to. If any payments will be made, it will be made to NITA directly. The terms of the contract must be that Smart Infraco should go and bring new contracts and new jobs and share revenue, and not that they sit back and then our government asset has been handed over to a private entity, and they are commercializing it and taking all the revenue. This is what I inherited, and this is what we're trying to fix.
Thank you very much, Minister. I can understand the explanations you are giving to this committee. Our concern has to do with public funds that ought to come to the public. Whatever you are suggesting sounds to me like a policy direction that you want to undertake. When the report came before this committee, we wrote to the companies involved, and they have also given us their response. But just so we are all on the same page, and we do not take these things so lightly, I want to read to you that the report from Smart Infraco, they claim that clause 6 required that Smart Infraco restored all infrastructure within 12 months using its own capital. They also claim in clause 6.4 that the company was allowed to deduct capital expenditure, direct cost, and taxes before calculating revenue share. And in clause 12 of the same report, it also states that there was a second addendum which overrides the original contract in case of inconsistencies. And I seem to understand your concern with changes in contracts and all of that, but with a few contract law that we've learned, this is a clear case of novation. One company, one private company moving to the other. Because they are not here, and because it also involves some legal documents and all of that, that is why we're also reading to you the response that they have given to this committee. So I want to find out from you if you have an idea of what the company is saying, and that the clauses that they claim, especially clause 6 and 12, are contained in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've just pulled out the contract, and I'm going to read the original contract, the parent contract. I'm going to read clause 4, and the heading for 4 is cost and risk. 4.1 says, save the procurement of an irrevocable bank guarantee or letters of credit. Libara Ghana shall undertake the obligations of this contract project at its own cost and risk. So now this means that whatever cost was supposed to arise out of the execution of the contract, this is clearly stated here, and like you said, contract law, clause 4.1, would be at the instance of Libara Ghana, the parent company, the company that we signed the contract with. So, you see, we need to be minded as public office holders that whilst we want to support private business, we cannot do it at the expense of the Ghanaian taxpayer. So if the original contract says that any cost and risk associated with the execution of this contract is at the expense of the private party, and then a minister takes a decision to vary that in an addendum and say that she's transferring that cost and risk from the private entity to the Ghanaian taxpayer, there must be proper justification for same. Unless you show me what it is, I, as minister, with the evidence available to me, still hold the view that whatever was agreed in the parent contract, which is the 6 million we're talking about here for the first 5 years, should be paid to the tax kitty. If there are any conversations to be had about whether there's an addendum that has shifted liability for cost, we can then have that conversation. But to deprive the taxpayer of this anticipated revenue on the back of a policy directive, I think may be problematic.
See, Minister, we are not here to want to defend any past government official, and I can understand. Once the new government takes over, there's a new direction, and from how you speak, we realize that probably maybe you would want needed to take a different direction with respect to this contract. But once the state has a contract with some parties, I can see the original contract, which was signed somewhere in 2018 with Libara, is what you are making references to. But I also want to bring to your attention that in 2020, this same contract was novated to Smart Infraco Limited. And this was with approval of all parties. And of course, in terms of contracts, addendums and variations are always, they come in. I mean, we can vary a contract subject to the fact that all parties have come into a certain agreement. And I also know that you are aware, because we have with us a due diligence report that was conducted by Tata Communications Limited, and we've been provided with that report, and I'm sure it's going to help us moving forward. But so that you know that addendums in contracts are not illegal. They are not unlawful. It happens every day in contracts. And so let's speak to what exactly we have that got varied along the line, along the value chain in this contract. And I think that it will help the committee. Thank you very much.
I must also admit that in the response that they gave to us, Smart Infraco admits that they owe. So it is not like they are not acknowledging that they owe government. From their reports, the report that they gave to us on page 5 of 8, it says that Smart Infraco acknowledges the outstanding amount of $1 million, in addition to a balance of $162,518, and which has been featured in the accounts and submitted to the ministry. So there is some liability that they themselves have acknowledged. But from what I read from their reports, that the addendum necessitated a change in the advance payments. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I have read, they are saying that the addendum that they made to the original contract, the variation that they made to the original contract, necessitated a change in the advance payments. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. But this is what is in front of me. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, you're absolutely correct that that is the position of Smart Infraco. But that's why I started by saying that this is not about what Sam George's position is or what Smart Infraco's position is. It's about what the position of the law is. Nobody has said that addendums to a law, to a contract are illegal. I have never made that claim here. Addendums are a legal part of the legal process of contracting. However, the question we're raising is that when addendums change substantially what the original contract was, we have chosen to subject that to the Attorney General's advice. And that's why I'm saying that if today you have a report which we are not privy to, the document you reference as a response from Smart Infraco to the committee, we haven't seen at the ministry. But if in that they admit some liability, it comes back to support my initial submission and position that the 6 million ought to be paid to the states. When that is paid to the state, they can make whatever claims, because let's not forget, the claims are now being made on the back of the addendum. Not because the parent contract says that all the cost and risk should be borne by the private entity. Now they are saying that the addendum allows for them to move that liability to government. Because that's why they are saying that they don't owe 6 million. The cost that they claim they spent in rectifying the infrastructure is the reason why, in their response to you, I want to believe, they are saying that liability is not 6 million, but 1 million and about 160,000, if I heard you right, Madam Chair. And so that's why I'm saying that that claim must be submitted. That claim cannot be made by the private entity and then say that we have decided that government owes us this, so we are deducting it from government's money, and this is what we will give. No, that power does not rest with a private entity.
As for that one, I agree with you 100%.
Thank you. And so the point is
that we should validate the costs that they claim they charged, the profits that they earned, and then to find out truly if that was so. And then we can make progress and see where they owe us and then they need to pay, or where, we need to offset them with one thing or the other. But truly, I understand that we need to validate the costs involved.
That's the point of the ministry.
I have gone through the reports myself, and then in a couple of, in certain years, you see the revenue and then you see the costs. They charge the costs that they said they have incurred to the revenue, and we end up, when I say we, I mean government ends up owing them some money. So it is, in the light of all that is happening, I strongly believe that, yes, we should validate all the costs that they charge to the revenues that came in, and where they ought to pay, they pay. And so as for we validating those terms, and in terms of the costs that they applied to the revenues after the addendum or the renewal, the tweaking of the contracts, I believe that we should look at it and put it in perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy that we are in agreement that there needs to be a validation of the claims, and then we on the back of that, decide how to proceed. But bottom line is, so long as there is an obligation to the state, that must be met. Because if you don't meet that, then, as the auditors have indicated, we will begin to charge interest at prevailing bank rates because you are holding government revenue. So it's best that they submit what is owed to the state whilst we do the validation. Because if the longer they hold it, to settle the Auditor General, we would have to surcharge them the interest on the monies that they are holding at the prevailing bank rate.
Yeah, thank you. But, Minister, are you able to provide this committee copies of the original contract, the various variations that happen along the value chain, i.e. the various addendums, the first one and the second one, so that we can run that alongside the response that they gave us and the due diligence, so that the committee can arrive? We need those documents from you. Can you assure the committee of these documents?
Madam Chair, if I'm a minister for digital technology, if you would allow me apply digital technology, I can actually send it to you electronically right now.
We will be very
before
grateful.
I rise from the chair.
We'll be very
you can have the secretariat print. So I'm just going to forward it to Madam Chair and yourself.
All right, thank you.
You see, honorable members, what we need to look at is what the auditors recommended. So whether there's been a change here or there, what the auditors are saying is Smart Infraco owes $6 million. Pay the money, and then afterwards we'll look at anything else that they have. Now the second question. Okay, OPK, then ask your second question. Okay, hold on. Hold on.
The minister has just sworn an oath. I thought I'm a member of the committee. You are disrupting our meeting.
Honorable, you are a member of, you are a very good, you are a solid member of this committee. We appreciate that. But you just took an oath. Okay. And that, yes. So, initially, your minister wanted to find out from you if you were part of him or you'll be here. And you opted to be there. And you have taken that oath. So be there.
Chairman, like my colleague OPK Riley said, I am a member of the committee, and we are speaking to an audit report. But I heard my colleague reading from a report from the company that we are discussing, a report to him alone, and not to all the members of the committee. If you have a copy, I, as a member, I do not have a copy. Please, I'm coming. I think that there were recommendations by the auditors who audited the ministries, and they recommended that an amount of $6 million should be retrieved from the said company. We are speaking to the report. My colleague, I was expecting him to ask the auditors what were their point of references when they were conducting that audit. He chose to ignore, and he spoke to a document before him. And he was asking questions or reading to the minister from document that is only presented to him alone. And I don't know where he got the document from.
Honorable member.
Which, Mr. Chairman, please, if you can allow me to land. I appeared here.
Yeah.
I represented my minister. And you gave a specific instructions that the chief director, the finance director, and the company, you want them here. You didn't tell me that the company should write to the committee. You said the chief director, the finance director, and the company involved, you wanted them here. I am surprised that I am here to assist my minister, and my colleague is actually reading from a report purported to be coming from the company. And so when you do that, and the auditors are sitting here, I seem to be lost. So I don't know which one you are speaking to.
Honorable member, a very good standing member of the committee. I made a pronouncement before you started. We are going by the Auditor General's report. So whatever that company has written or not, we are going through Auditor General's report. And as the minister said, he has consulted the Attorney General to advise on it. So that's where we are going. So Attorney General will advise on it, and then we'll go by what the Auditor Generals have said. So what he read is not part of the report.
Whatever we discuss here is being captured by the Hansard, and I believe that that will be part of the report that will be prepared by the committee.
Honorable member, that's the way we are going. We are going by the Auditor General.
Mr. Chair, the truth of the matter is that this committee wrote a letter to the companies in question. In fact, we've written letters to Libara, we've written letters to Smart Infraco. First was for them to appear before this committee, and they gave us a detailed response, and this came from Smart Infraco because, I mean, like we all said, the initial contract was between the state and Libara, but later it was novated to Smart Infraco, and they are those handling the thing now. So whatever I'm referring to are responses that are before this committee. Yes, you may ask for copies of that. These documents came on Friday. These documents came to this committee on Friday. And the only thing that you needed to do as a member was to ask your leader, ask me that you want copies, and I'll make them available to you. But you can't be in these two shoes. You have sworn an oath to be a member of the ministry, and now you are challenging on committee works. I don't think it is proper. I mean, nothing untoward has happened, and what we seek to do is to find out the truth and how we are able to save the state money. That is all we are interested in this committee. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, honorable members, I have ruled on it. We are going by what the Auditor General has given us. And if we have any issues, the ministry has any issues, you are going through the Attorney General. Let it say the way that it is. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Chairman, just to announce that per the request that came, I have forwarded to yourself, the chair and the deputy vice chair, the original contract, the first addendum and the second addendum. I've sent them electronically to you. I would be grateful if you can confirm receipt of same.
Yes, I can confirm receipts of those reports. And I think it's the same contracts that Smart Infraco and the others sent to us when they responded to it. But it's just a word of advice. Usually, when you are out with your minister and your minister speaks, that is final. This is just a word of advice, because I have also been where I have been a deputy minister, and usually when we go out and your minister speaks, it is final. This is just a word of advice. And I think you spoke to us clearly. You said you were going to carry out A, B, C, and D. The chairperson for this sitting ruled and said, for us, we are following the Auditor General's report, so that irrespective of what has been said here, it is the Auditor General's report that we are following. I also made I agreed with you on certain portions of it that clearly, for me, I'm not comfortable with the whole costs being applied to the way to the revenue the way it was done. So I also agree with you that we should validate the costs and then come out with the actual that truly they owe the states or whatever it is, and then we can make progress and move forward. That should have been the end of the discussion. So, Minister, thank you very much. Just a word of advice. We've been there.
Okay, let's make progress. Let's go to the next infraction. It's on paragraph 1471, and OPK will handle that one.
And this has to do with some unsupported payment to Smart Infraco, 6,755,175 Ghana cedis. Mr. December 20th, 2023, your ministry paid 6,755,174.94 to Smart Infraco Limited for a connectivity platform. The issues the auditors have with this payment is that there were no supporting documents, no evidence of services rendered, no certificate of work done, and no expenditure justification. Are you able to tell this committee if what your response is on this infraction, and we can take it.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just so that the records bear this out, this did not happen under Sam George, but at the ministry, yes, by my predecessor. In 2023, this happened in 2023, just so that the records bear us out clear, because we wouldn't superintend over such action. But we have followed up. We've followed up, and NITA, which is the implementing agency on this project, has been asked to submit all the documentation on the project. They've submitted a closure of project report to us. The letter by which they send that to us is NITA/MOCD/VAS/20/12/22, and that was dated 22nd December 2020. We've sent it to the audit services for verification. I don't know if they received it and what the status of that is, but NITA has provided us some documentation relative to that payment. Again, bear in mind that NITA is under new management, and so whatever they've been able to retrieve, we forwarded to the audit service, pending their verification. If they verify the amount, then I believe that will bring closure to it. But if they raise queries on it, then we'll need to further dig into that matter.
Auditors, are you able to confirm whether or not you received documentations to the effect of these payments?
Honorable Chair, will be pleased if they have it here, they provide the documents to us, because we don't have it now at the moment.
The minister is is a digitized man, so he can send you soft copy. This is why you have a hard copy.
Again, if they want us to provide them a soft copy, a digital copy, we can. But I also have a physical hard copy here, which I can table before the committee for the review of the auditors. But then it has to be authenticated and verified. But this is what we've received, and we have a copy here.
Thank you. And you see, Minister, I keep on referring to the response that Smart Infraco gave us. Probably maybe we should make copies available to you, so that at least we are able to reconcile and get there. Because in their response, they deny this payment. They deny that these payments were made to them, but they claim that they could justify for the payment. No, I'm coming. They also claim that the Auditor General's report miscalculated or misclassified the payment, arguing that it was not part of the Eeii government infrastructure commercialization contract, but rather a different project altogether. And so we will share with you their response. We'll share with the auditors their response so that we can reconcile and have a certain agreement with respect to this, so that we know what the real challenge is. What is it that if we have to make any reference to the Auditor General, to the Attorney General, what is it specifically that we are doing? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I am guided, and I'm grateful to get a copy of the responses. However, I just want to make the point clear. My fidelity is to the state. It's not to a company. And once my fidelity is to the state, as a member of Parliament myself and a former member of this committee, I understand that what forms the base material for my decision making is not a company's rendition and response, but the Auditor General of Ghana's report. And so long as the Auditor General of Ghana has raised questions about that payment, even if the private company thinks that they have challenges, they can have redress to the courts, to have redress to the courts to clear their names. And sitting in this committee as a member, we've had cause to ask companies to go to court to clear their name and challenge the decisions of the Auditor General. But sitting in this chair as Minister of State, my fidelity is to the Ghanaian people and the Auditor General's report, and that says that that payment was questionable. We have raised the documentation that we have found. I think that we should allow the Auditor General to verify and authenticate and vet it. And then on the basis of the rule of the decision of the Auditor General, we can proceed, but not on the opinion of a private company.
Change losses alone. If I should go into their operating costs, if I should ask them to break down the 134 million for me, you will see some things that will surprise you. So it's not just about the exchange losses, but there are other expenditures that are in there that ought not to be there. You sat here and told us how you are helping Ghana Digital Center to reduce their expenditure, because they usually would have flown 6 people for just one event with one person. So these are the other things that we should be looking at, because tomorrow, if we should see this thing, what are you also going to say? Is the same forex losses? No, but there are other equally important things that I believe we should spend some time to help them with, like you are helping GDCL, help them with, and that should help them reduce their expenditure. The fact that they make more revenue doesn't mean, hey, we should spend. So that's a note of caution to Minister, your agencies.
MD,
yes.
this is advice from the chair through me to you. You are guided. You want to take it as policy position.
All right. Let's go to the infractions. Unretired impress of 59,877. Have we retired this impress?
Has been retired and submitted to the Auditor General for verification in May 2025.
Auditors, could you confirm, please?
Honorable Chair, we can confirm that the impress has been retired. Thank you.
Thank you. The next infraction is on paragraph 953, and Honorable Akwesi Kunedu will handle that one.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, this infraction has to do with the renovation of Bekwai Post Office. And the auditors found that you do not seek concurrent approval for a variation of about 34,743 Ghana cedis. And they recommended that you seek that approval. Has that been done?
That was done and submitted. It was done. The variation was done. It was ratified by the Entity Tender Committee during its meeting on the 16th of November 2024, and that has been submitted to the Auditor General for verification.
Auditors, can you please confirm for us if that has been done?
Honorable Chair, the variation was subsequently ratified by the ETC. Thank you.
The next infraction is on paragraph 958, and Honorable Shirley Che will take care of that one.
Thank you. This is to do with procurements not executed through Ghana Electronic Procurement System. And our Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, public corporations and state-owned entities are to maintain good governance and management practices. The Public Procurement Authority, reference letter PPA CEO 10/2491/23, made it mandatory for covered entities and state-owned enterprises to use the Ghana electronic procurement systems for all government procurements. Now the question is, why did you choose not to use the Ghana procurement electronic systems in transactions totaling over 7 million Ghana cedis?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Ghana Post operates in a very competitive area, and for that reason, we have in our hands here evidence of exemption by the Public Procurement Authority from us using the GANEPS for procurement. I have in my hand here a letter dated 21st February 2023, signed by the Chief Executive, Mr. Frank Mante, and let me just read paragraph 4. Approval is hereby conveyed for the exclusion of Ghana Post Company Limited from applying the public procurement procedures in its operation, subject to meeting the board requirement below. And then the full letter is here. And then I also have here, dated Wednesday, 9th July 2025, the gazette of that exemption. So because we have that exemption, they will not be running their procurements through GANEPS. Thank you.
That information.
Sorry, a copy has been shared with the Auditor General.
So is there a reason why the auditors were not informed or were not given a copy of this letter?
At the time the audit was done, even though the approval had been given, it had not been gazetted. And so that's why we see, I said the letter was 21st February 2023, but the gazette is dated 9th of July 2025. The new management was the one that did the gazette. And so that's why at the time the audit was done, there was no gazette to show to them.
Okay, good enough explanation, but I don't see how you are walking through an alleyway. There is light in one and there's darkness in one, and you choose to walk through darkness. I mean, what would be the consequence for practicing good governance? And I don't know why you were given that exemption. But I think the auditors recommended that you comply going forward. So can you give us an update if you've started complying?
Honorable Chair, we are not walking in any darkness. We are walking in light. The Ghana Post Company Limited has its own procurement manual approved by the PPA. So it's not the Wild West where procurements are just happening in any way. No. There's a specialized manual because, like I said, they operate against, the Ghana Post is operating against all the private courier companies that you see in the country. They don't, if Ghana Post was bidding, for example, the passport job, they went into that as a competitive bid with all the private entities who went in there. It would then mean that they will have to go through PPA and get commencement authorization and all the things that we're talking about today. That's why the PPA, in its wisdom, developed its procurement manual for it. And so it's not as though it's a murky ground where there's no transparency. It's guided by the PPA's own procedure. And the board ratifies, yes.
So my question was, you are meant to comply going forward. That's what management's response to the auditors was, that you were going to seek clarification and then start complying. So can you inform the committee if you started complying?
Yes, Chair. That compliance is evidenced by the Gazette notice that we have done, dated 9th of July 2025.
Thank you very much.
All right. The next question, the next infraction is going to ask you why you didn't gazette it. And,
Ghana Post. You were given exemption from GANEP, from the use of GANEP, but you failed to publish that exemption. Why?
Honorable Abena says I should say that it's a continuum. So it's a continuum. We take responsibility for it, and we are sure that that's part of the reason why there was a change in government. Thank you.
The auditors...
Is that the answer to his question, or he did not ask you any question?
I asked failed to publish the exemption granted them by the national by the public procurement authority. That is the question.
That was the question.
Yes.
Yes, but Minister, some of these things, when the public servants fail to do what is required of them, let's not hide behind the politicians and say, oh, this or that. Clearly, this is not something a minister will even do. You, the head or the procurement director or whoever, you are supposed to do those things. So it has nothing to do with government doing this or government not doing that. The person who was supposed to do it should have done it. So, Minister, this is not this or that. But it's when the public officers are supposed to do something, they ought to do it. When the politicians are also supposed to do something, then we also ought to do it and take responsibility as such. I mean, that's fair.
I'm fully in agreement with you, Honorable Chair. It's just that when the public servants mess up, they blame us. But we also, when they do it right, we also take the funds. So the buck stops with us. And I believe that as political appointees, we also have a responsibility of some sort to exercise oversight over the public servants who we oversee. So I think it's just managing that fine balance. Thank you.
Mr. Minister, has that been done so far?
Yes, please. We've stated earlier that we have done the Gazette. The able management at Ghana Post has done the Gazette dated Wednesday, 9th July 2025. So that's been done.
Can you confirm that?
Honorable Chair, we'll be pleased to have a copy of the Gazette. When we did a follow-up, what we had was a letter from BPA giving them exemption. But we're yet to cite the Gazette. Thank you.
Yes, I do have the copy of the...
Chairman, you know that this minister, because he's a former member of this committee, always comes prepared. I don't want to be in the position the chair was in here some time back. So I came prepared. I have my Gazette here. So please, clerk, come and take the Gazette and give to...
Right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, that is it.
You have to wait for us to tell you whether you came well prepared or not. You don't tell yourself you came well prepared. Just take your time, finish with the proceedings. If we are satisfied with your conduct, then we will say, yes, you came very well prepared and you have delivered. So, Boadu?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Hello. Okay, the next infraction is on paragraph 969, and Honorable Frankie Eboa will take care of that one.
Thank you, Chairman. And this one is on failure to account for strategic partnership operations. Paragraph 969. And Chairman, with your leave, I want to read Section 11 of the Audit Service Act 2000, Act 584, which states that the Auditor General or any person authorized or appointed for the purpose by the Auditor General shall have access to all books, records, returns, and other documents, including documents in computerized and electronic form relating to or relevant to those accounts. So, with that in mind, Minister, this one, I want to advise that you allow the public servants also come in as well, because this one can be some that will be continuing. So, Ghana Post entered into an agreement with a company called Collins Investment Limited in March 2020 for the procurement, installation, maintenance, and management of their mail and parcel boxes. They open an account at Car Bank. What I mean by they open an account is the company, Collins Investment Limited, open an account at Car Bank to pay the revenue collected into the account. When the auditors came to do their audit, they asked for profit, the details of the profit generated, revenue, expenditure, and the bank statement of that particular account with Car Bank. And according to the auditors, you failed to provide that information. So they recommended that you provide that information, and failing to do so will mean that you have to be sanctioned under Section 33 of the Audit Service Act. So what's the current status of the auditor's recommendation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have proceeded to terminate the contract because Collins T was unresponsive, and I hold in my hands here a letter dated 17th June 2025, signed by the MD for Ghana Post. The heading is Notice of Termination of Contract. And so we terminated that contract on the 17th of June, and then proceeded again on the 12th of September 2025 to give notice to the company to recover all customer information that was in the possession of the company. So currently, the company has no contractual engagement with Ghana Post, and Ghana Post is following up with their lawyers to see if there are any funds, apart from the customer data that we've recovered, if there are any funds that are due us, to ensure that through the right legal processes, we retrieve all of those funds.
Okay, thank you, Minister. But did this contract come with performance security?
No, there was no performance security assigned to the contract. There was no performance security assigned to the contract.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, now the next infraction is on paragraph 976, and Honorable Sebastian Day will take care of that one.
Thank you, Chairman. The next infraction actually borders on non-documentation of assets of the Ghana Post. And it's Section 52 of the PFM Act 2016, Act 921 to be specific, states that the principal spending officer shall maintain a register of lands, buildings, and other assets under the control and possession of the principal spending officer. And I believe in this case that's Mrs. Straha, is it? However, the auditor in the audit process of 2023 ended, detected or noted during the inspection that the company, Ghana Post, they don't have ownership documents or land title certificates for 3 parcels of land and 241 of your post offices. The details of the land, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, include the Bubuashi office.
Chair, I would respectfully make the plea that we do not mention the specific locations. Reason being that you put it out and then you can have encroachers go in there. So we know the 3 locations. Okay. So I'll plead that you stay away from.
So 3 locations and then 241 post office.
Minister, I agree with you because the one in Greater Accra, I'm interested in it.
Minister, thanks for that prompt. But the fact remains that 241 of our post offices do not have land title certificates or proper documentation. Now, the auditor's recommendation for this is to this effect, that you must take the necessary steps to prevent or to ensure that documents are proper to prevent any litigation. My question is, what is the status?
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm grateful to the Chair and the committee for obliging my request to leave the existing locations, because even in one of the locations, we're currently dealing with encroachments there. You don't want to have a lot more people go and encroach before you complete. But what I can state on the record is that we have started all the processes for regularization of the documents. Cadastral plans have been prepared and submitted to the Lands Commission. They have acknowledged same. They are preparing the bills for us on one of the parcels. And one of the other parcels, they are actually giving us a bill. The bill was about 1 million Ghana cedis. We wrote back to the Lands Commission asking for a downward review. They gave us a 25% downward review. And so the company is in the process of raising the funds to pay, because some of these lands are huge parcels. And so when you look at the costs from the Lands Commission, again, we are minded not to just dump all of that immediately into 1 year's financial expenditure. So we are trying to regularize them. The other one, we have a 45-year sublease from the grantor. I'm sure that's the land the chairman says he was very interested in. We have a 45-year lease from the grantor. We have paid, we've made a down payment that is almost 75% of what they are asking for. And that again is even forex denominated. So we've done substantial work to secure the lands. Now on the post offices, 241 of them, they are littered across the country. And so the company has started an assets register, and an asset registry basically, and is taking stock of the locations and the conditions and situations of all the various titles, because some of them, they started the process, it wasn't completed, some nothing at all has been done. So they're in different stages, so that we can then engage the Lands Commission as one state agency to another to see how well we can stagger the payment for regularization. Because if we were to regularize all of these lands in 1 year, we'll be spending in excess of 100 million Ghana cedis, which would basically bankrupt the company. So, but we would want to start the process and work with the Lands Commission to stagger the payment over a number of years. But work is actively underway to ensure that we secure all of our assets.
All right. Thank you very much. The next infraction is on paragraph 981. Did you check out from the auditors?
Well, the minister did indicate that they are in the process of doing it, and I think that his answers were satisfactory. But the auditors can buttress what he has said.
Yes, Honorable Chair, they've taken steps to register their land. The documents that we have perused, they have taken the concrete steps in registering their lands. Thank you.
All right. The next infraction is on paragraph 981. And Honorable Cletus will take care of that one.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, this infraction is on unaccounted revenue, 18,275 Ghana cedis. Mr. Chairman, under the audit review, some revenue were collected and then banked with the Ghana Post account, leaving an amount of 18,274 Ghana cedis. I want to find out from the minister whether this money has been refunded, because the auditors recommended that the said amount should be collected from the officers involved. May I know from the minister whether that has been done?
Mr. Chair, we have banked all the revenue, but let me just make a point here to help the auditors and the committee. Part of the reason why you have some of these instances where the revenue is not banked immediately is when you look at where the post office is and where the nearest bank is and the revenue that comes in a day. If they were to bank the revenue every day, they may end up using 80% of the revenue as transportation to the bank and back. So some of them, there are varying banking practices. Some do a daily banking, some do a weekly, some even do a monthly. in this particular case, we have submitted to the auditors the full records of the banking to show that all the unaccounted for revenue have been banked. But this is what occasions the delays in some of the bankings.
Minister, what do you recommend in such situation?
Well, we recommend that the auditors bear this in mind when they go into some of the locations, because if you go there and it appears as though, I'm sure if you went to my deputy's constituency, if you have to leave Golu to Tumu every day to go and bank, how much does the post office generate? So we would have to find a way with the auditors to explain the peculiarity of every post office to them. But right now, what we have done is to show evidence that all the revenue has been accounted for, and I'm sure you can verify from the auditors.
My last one, Minister. I want you to help this committee. It's not this matter or this issue is just not about your outfit. It has come to this platform a number of times. How about if you hear that the revenue collector kept the money in the house and they've stolen the money? How about that?
Well, that is a real challenge to the situation that we have. The question will be, do we want to use digital money solutions? So take, for example, if the lodgement for the day is done, would you go to a mobile money operator and then deposit it into a wallet and transfer into Ghana, in this case, Ghana Post bank account? Now, the question you should ask yourself is, there are going to be bank charges with the related movements. That would also have to be factored into all of this, because you can't expect the staff to bear the cost of this. But I think that if we want to deal with this, we can give a directive that says that no matter what it is, at the end of the day, go and deposit it into a mobile wallet and transfer to the bank digitally. But then it then means that, you see, the issue with bank charges is when I go to a traditional bank to do a transaction and there are bank charges, when you print out the bank statement, you see all the bank charges in there for auditors to be able to verify. When you do mobile money transfers using an agent, you will not be able to generate the charges bits in a ledger form that is unique to just that entity, except we then decide that we want to now create vendor SIMs for every post office that will only be used for the financial transaction of that post office. That may be the only way by which you may then be able to say that, so if it is Telecel cash or AT cash or MTN cash, when they come, you then request from the telecom company the print out of that vendor SIM, which is used only for that transaction. But there are nuances to these things, and so we must be careful not to cut our nose to spite our face.
Sir, thank you so much. Good explanation. Auditors, can you confirm that the money has been collected?
Yes, Honorable Chair, the amount has been banked.
All right, the next infraction is on paragraph 986, and Honorable Ahenkwa will take care of that one.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, this infraction is on unaccounted revenue totaling 136,000 Ghana cedis. The audit report disclosed that post offices within Accra West region of the company did not account for revenue totaling 136,000 generated from general operations and other internal generated funds. The head of Accra West region explained that the irregularity occurred as a result of delay in release of operational funds to the various post offices. As a result, payment for operational expenditure were made out of the gross revenue collected by the various post offices. The auditors made the following 3 recommendations. 1, that management should recover the unaccounted revenue of the 136,000 from the staff involved. 2,
that management should ensure that all revenue collected from the various post offices are promptly deposited in the gross company's revenue account without disbursement. And the third one, management should ensure that operational funds are released to the various regional offices in a timely manner to avoid direct disbursement from the daily sales revenue. Before I have 3 questions. Who is responsible for the release of the operational funds to the various post offices?
Head office
might have accounted
head
for...
Head office. Head
Okay.
office is responsible.
So what was the challenge?
Okay, so Chair, in responding to this whole, the Accra West Regional District, Accra West Regional District oversees 14 post offices: Kaneshi or Doko, Dansoman Estate, Dansoman Community, Dakuman, STC, Abosiokai. It oversees 26, but there are 14 that have the issue: Abosiokai, Malam, Niboyman, Weja, Kolibu, Odupongpehe, Kaswanyanyano, and Abeka. Now, the challenge you have is that previously releases were not going on time for operational expenditure to the various district offices. So what then happens is, once the release has not been made from head office, the post offices still need to carry out their daily operations. And so for whatever revenue they get, they hold some to carry out the operational expenditures, awaiting the release from head office. When head office finally makes the receipts, then they go and do the settlements in the bank. I can assure you that under this new dispensation, that's not the case. Releases are going on time, monthly, and so there is no justification for anybody to, especially in urban areas where you don't have the challenges we just discussed with the previous question, where banking distance occasions them to hold the funds for like a week or a month. In urban areas like Accra, nobody has that excuse to hold the funds anymore. We're making sure that the funds go when they have to go, they get their operational expenditure. And so this thing, they call it firm receipts. The staff people, they have a title name for it, I've just been told, they call it firm receipts. The issue of firm receipts is no longer an issue in part of our operations now, because funds go regularly. And then with respect to the issues that have been raised in the Auditor General's report, all of those have been settled. We've submitted claims to and evidence to the auditors for verification.
Auditors, can you verify or authenticate their claims?
Yes, Honorable Chair, we'll be pleased to have the documents if you have it. Because, yes, we have not seen it.
We'll run a copy, because these are originals. We'll run a copy and then submit same to you. So we have the originals here, but we'll just run copies for the audit service.
All right, the next infraction is on paragraph 993, and Honorable Desmond Paytu would handle them.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, this infraction is about unaccounted revenue, a total of 45,136.10, which affected 4 stations: Ejuso, Yiyiw, Kumasi, Konongo, and Agogo. And auditors were saying that such money should be recovered and paid same to the appropriate accounts. So I want to find out whether the money has been recovered and paid same to the account duly. Thank you.
Chairman, recovery has been made, payment has been made, evidence has been shared with the Auditor General. Thank you.
Auditors, we would like you to confirm whether the payment has been done.
Yes, Honorable Chair, we can confirm that that has been done.
Chair, I think that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next infraction is on paragraph 1000, and Honorable Nasser will take care of that one.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Minister, Minister, this unsupported payments in your Western Region office, I would just like to find out if the CEO has been able to provide the relevant documents to the auditors to support the payments of about 69,000 of taxpayers' money. 1,000.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we have honorary receipts from the head, which we have shared with the auditors, covering the full amount from the head of the Western Regional Office.
Auditors, please can you confirm the claim by the Minister?
Yes, Honourable Chair, the payments have been supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. You and your team, you are discharged. Now we call...
Minister, I'll give you 70/100.